then ergonomics. I wish I could have said ergonomics and durability, but when you have over 1,000 people a month hopping on the stuff, it has to be durable first. So, for instance, the Cybex gear might have had a little bit better ergonomics, but they weren't nearly as durable. And they're all good, okay? But anyways, I first saw the Life Fitness hammer strength equipment at the B, which used to be the Powerhouse Gym, and I fell in love with the stuff. Tough as nails. It'd be pretty hard to break something here. So anyways, all of the Life Fitness gear has a placard that indicates what the prime mover would be, or the agonist, and it shows a before and after picture. This is a pretty good depiction of what you got going. But anyways, so an abdominal crunch, I mean, I'm not trying to slow this down. Obviously, the rectus abdominis would be what? Our prime mover or our agonist, correct? So if we're influencing trunk flexion, right, something else has to be relaxed eccentrically, which would be what? Erector spinae and the multifidus, right? So the agonist would be rectus abdominis, okay, and our antagonist would be the lower muscles of our back, right? So if you're coaching somebody on something, piece of gear, like everybody ever driven a car from a lot, you don't go pedal the metal until you know how something's going to handle, right? So I tell anybody, just quite simply, if you don't know what to expect, use the lightest weight. So again, if you're instructing somebody on something and they don't tell you their full history, you want to start out light so you don't do any injury to them, okay? If you get your head on this little pad, and again, this is how I be telling some of you never came into a gym, you want your air to come out on your exertion or the concentric portion of your movement. And so forth, and they go, hey, there's a couple different pegs. Well, the higher pegs would be somebody short in stature, lower pegs would be somebody a lot taller, okay? Anybody ever taken somebody that slow and described the piece of gear? That's what you're gonna have to do if you meet somebody with this much experience, right? So remember, their questions are never gonna be dumb because they don't know. You're the first line of defense to keep them with their compliance to exercise. So I can't stress enough, even if a question might seem bizarre or rudimentary, give them your all, okay? So in your plane of motion, okay, trunk flexion would probably be in the sagittal plane. Most of these are going to be the sagittal, frontal, or multiplanar.
What's a multiplanar?
Multiplanar is sometimes can be referred to as the cone, but if you're doing like a pec deck, emulating a fly from a vertical position, you're going to go through a couple of different planes, so we'd say multiplanar movement. All right, so moving on, we mentioned the shoulder press earlier, right, gang? Okay. One thing too, not every piece of gear has an adjustment for somebody's height or trunk length or limb length, okay? Another thing was nice about the Life Fitness stuff, they did away with the levers. Everything's now friction fit. The back of this is like scalloped, so just a little tension forward backwards gets you where you are. Anyways, I found that I'm 5'11", or close to it, and an adjustment of 5 works pretty well for me throughout the whole complement of gear. Generally, if you're going south, our flow, if somebody's doing circuit training, we go from south to north. But that's certainly, if somebody's not doing circuit training, they can pick and choose. But so I'm taking this down the line. So if this is the first person, I look for somebody with an adjustment. If these handles are almost roughly across the acromion press of the shoulder, you're probably golden. Again, if somebody's very small in stature or some carpal tunnel issues, these handles would be appropriate. If there's no issues there, I'd prefer a wider grip, okay? Of course, air out on your exertion. Our prime movers would be what? Shoulder press, right? So anterior and medial deltoid predominantly, okay? Maybe a little bit of rear, not much. Argument could be made that your rhomboids might be recruited, a little bit of your trap, mostly anterior and medial delt. Okay, air out on your, oh, I don't lose my thing. out under exertion. Now, we don't have everything we want in this gym. I'd love a complement of, you know, squat rack, bench, and all the rest of it. So you gotta think outside the box. With this apparatus too, you can also do some nice shrug work. I just ask people to take their shoes off if they're gonna stand on a piece of gear. You can do some nice shrug work as well, okay? Ladies, don't be afraid to do shrug work. Everybody thinks if you do shrugs, you'll look like an orangutan. Now, if you don't do them all the time, you won't look like an orangutan, okay? Now, one other thing to consider too, if you're training somebody that's very frail, okay, they may not be able to lift the entry level on the shoulder press. Okay, I've had a couple of little elderly ladies, they want to do shoulder press, they can't even move the first plate though at 10 pounds. So sometimes you'll have to lower or shrink the range of motion by making them farther away so they can be at the higher part of a motion. Do you see what I'm saying? So if I lower the seat for me all the way down, notice now in my shoulder press I'm not pushing it up as far as I would if the seat was higher. That's one way to counteract if somebody can't do the introductory weight. If that doesn't help, you're gonna have to spot them and they give them a little bit of a push to get going.
Or you could do the eccentric motion, right?
Yes, but if you had somebody that's frail, probably I would advise against that. Good question though. Yeah, with a beginning weightlifter in general, I would probably stay away from eccentric loading until you know how they're gonna behave and respond to the concentric portion of the movement. Cool mural too, isn't that?
Oh, yeah.
Here you go, it's something fun to see, guys.